How would you like people to connect with you?
Well, a really good way for people to connect directly with me is an email. If you want a catering order, if you have a question about hiring, if you have a question about doing some sponsoring or anything like that, we have email eastsidefishfry@gmail.com. That goes directly to me. Um, and also, you can call the store if you want to place an order, 517-993-5988. And as far as location, we are right on the east side of Lansing, right before the highway of 127 on Kalamazoo Street, right off the highway. We're about a half a mile from the Breslin Center. Very easy location to get to. If you haven't been there, we have a website, www.eastsidefishfry.com. We have our menu on there. We have some pictures of our food. We have some stories about where we come from, and it's a very nice website. That's the best way to get a hold of us. And I wanted to make sure we mentioned something that's coming up super cool that you'll really like, Tom, is April 25th. We're doing a 10% give back to an organization called Small Talk of Lansing, Small Talk CAC. And it is a child abuse organization that um, pretty much if a child goes through some things and the family might not have means for counseling and things like that, Small Talk, my friend Alex Brace over there, who is the man over there, gets in touch and figures out a way to help these families and help these young children who have been through such a traumatic event regrow, and learn new things and learn new ways to handle them. And it's free. It's all supplied. So we're going to be on April 25th coming up. I believe it's this Saturday. We're going to do 10% of everything that comes in to the restaurant. You don't even have to tell us that it's Small Talk. We're just automatically 10% of everything that we bring in is going to Small Talk. And this is our first month doing it. It's our first event like this, but we already have other ones planned for each month for the next like 6 months, different organizations. We have a couple small youth basketball teams that we're doing this with just to help more kids get into school, get into programming. Maybe a kid's got a lot of, talent and, a lot of knowledge and things that he can do, but maybe he's got a tough foundation at home. He's got some parents that are going through some tough things. They don't have the extra funds, but we're able to help, give them an opportunity and a chance to thrive. And I think if we talk about it and we spread this, 5 or 10% from a business isn't going to hurt that business one day, a month if they pick it out. But if you get 10, 20, 30 businesses doing this, now we're able to really impact a lot of these small organizations that, they don't need thousands of dollars from, big companies, but 2 or 3, $400 on a weekly or bi-weekly basis from different businesses in town. If we're able to maybe even get a small network of people that are willing to do this, I mean, it's something I've had in the back of my mind for a while, and so we're starting to put our money where our mouth is, and so we're going to show and we're going to show people and talk about it. And hopefully some people might want to reach out and join me. Some people might want to start doing something like this. I think it's going to be beautiful. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, so that's why we chose that for this month. And if you have any more questions, Alex Brace over at Small Talk is an awesome guy, and he's here to really help these kids through a tough moment in their life. And we feel blessed to be able to be a part of that on April 25th.
How exciting was that for you to be featured on a television show like that, almost 10 years ago? But how much did that help your business and how exciting was that?
Well, it was, man, that's a heck of a story. I'll try to fit it all in quickly. So that year, the year before, we had gotten our EBT license. They took it from all of us, everybody that was like us. We used to be able to take EBT, and then they said no more. That was like a third of our business, and we were really struggling, honestly, when that happened. And when Guy Fieri decided to put us on the show, it put us on the map. I mean, that's a national TV show, and it was like one of the best shows back in the day. So when he did that, when he came, Lansing really showed out for us. I mean, we were there was a line out the door for, man, I'd probably say at least 60 to 70 days. I mean, it was just crazy. And so it changed my life. It changed my life. It changed a lot of, it allows me to change a lot of other people's lives, giving second chances. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to be slanging chicken on this corner probably after I die. Hopefully one of my family members want to take it over. And so I'm not going to let the opportunity, I'm not going to let these things that, caused me so much harm and stuff in my life die in vain. I'm not going to let that things happen in vain. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to do something for other people. Um, and that's just the way it is. Ain't nobody going to stop me.
You got several other businesses besides Eastside and Fortuo. Don't you have a car wash and some other things? I mean, you're dabbling in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. You gotta create more, different streams of revenue. You never know when something's going to go down and up, the ebb and flow. We
Is
do.
that advice you would give to people that are thinking about being an entrepreneur? If some of the lessons that you've learned, would you encourage that?
I'd give that advice to everybody, even if you aren't an entrepreneur and you might just have a gig, a 9 to 5 gig. I would still try to find other ways to make money, whether it's, I'm not big on the stocks, but, stocks, or whether it's a really small business where you just do it once or twice a week, a week or a month or something, but just have something that you can use if you ever need to barter with anything. I mean, you just never know. I like to be prepared.
Talk about 420. How did that all come to be?
So when I got out of prison and I, realized that I just got out of prison for something that other people are doing legally, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, honestly. And it made me kind of determined to try to, get back to the legal game. But when I got out, it was recently enacted law, and they didn't even allow somebody who had a felony for marijuana to even apply for a license. So they were allowing people who never even dealt with marijuana before in their life get a license, but they weren't allowing the person who just served 4 years in federal prison for marijuana to get a license, which I thought was just absolutely crazy. But those are the laws. So we um, fought, hired attorneys. Took us about 6, 7 years, and we finally secured a license. It was a very cool license. It's a micro business license, so we can grow our own product and have a retail business in the same property on the same property. So the cool thing and niche about our business is that when you come into our store, you're not getting products that are bought from Detroit or brought in from Colorado or tested here or tested there, and maybe it's a fake test, maybe it's lies. Everything that you buy in our store is grown by us in house. So it allows us to control the terps, the taste on the marijuana. It allows us to control the effects on the marijuana, what people want, what people don't want, and it also gives people some type of security knowing that we're not outsourcing the product, just for profit. Because that's what happens. People, when you call somewhere and you know they end up buying cheaper product where it might not be as clean. It might be and I think people are finally starting to realize that. When I first got into this market, I thought I had made a big mistake just with the prices the way they were and the taxes the way they are. There was just not a lot of profit in there, and then people, man, their customers are so um, they get tricked, and these a lot of these corporate dispensary owners are very good at it, and it's sad, but it is what it is. I think if somebody understands dispensaries and they go to one right now, they have a favorite, and it's like a corporate type of thing. I would just encourage you to come in and check us out, smell our products, meet our people, see how our products each. They all smell different, they all look different. You got a lot. You go to a lot of these places and they look the same, they smell the same. It's there's a lot of reasons, and we're not going to get into that now. But it's a lot of it's just a scam. A lot of it's a sham. And I'm sorry to say that and break people's hearts, but that's
It's all money. And Amanda Chicago Lewis was the woman that I had on. She's a big writer for New York Times and High Times magazine and Wired magazine. I found her, and she's the person I interviewed, the only other person who was willing to come on the radio show and talk about the marijuana industry. And you said something interesting that she actually said as well, that there is not a lot of money to be made in this industry because it's so saturated, and the corporate entities have come in So it's interesting to hear your business model. You're such a cool guy when it comes to these different business models. You're willing to try something out of the norm. And so talk more about Fortuo. What type of products do you have over there? Do you can you get recreational and medical there? Is that how that works? Because I'm not quite sure how the business side of it works. How do you manage? I'm just thinking about all the stuff that you're doing. I mean, between the 420, the restaurant, supporting all these athletes, your daughter, your family, how do you manage all of this as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a leader? What's the secret sauce?
I think the secret sauce is to not don't think about it in an overwhelming way. I think there's a lot of people that are just as busy as me, if not busier. I mean, think about an Elon Musk, a Joe Rogan. I mean, those guys are still operating and still making it do. You hire people, you delegate, you learn new tasks you learn new ways to make things faster. And you don't make excuses, man. I mean, it's a lot. Sometimes it's easier for people to just be like, oh, I can do that tomorrow. A big saying that I live with, and I really live with it by like strong is and I teach my kids it's never okay to be okay, right? Never. And okay is good. It's better than bad, right? But if you're okay, you could have been better. You could have been good. You could have been great. You could have been awesome. You could have been unstoppable. But instead, you're just okay. So I'm not saying that I go to bed every night and I feel like I did great, good, awesome, fantastic. But I don't go to bed thinking I did okay today, and that's okay. I think, well, Henry, you did okay today, but you could have did this. You could have, worked a little bit smarter, quicker. You could have bought a different tool to be able to operate smoother. And instead of you getting, yeah, hey, you got 12 things done today. You knocked 12 things off your list today. Good for you. But you could have knocked 14 if you would have did this. And that's, some of that's self-inventory. Some of that is just being able to say, Henry, you didn't do that as good as you could have did it. And a lot of people are tough. They're not able to say that to themselves. They're not able to say, Henry, you messed up today. Not Tom, not the scissors weren't sharp. No, man, you didn't cut the paper right. It's simple as that. It's just the little things that people aren't willing to say. That was my fault, bro. It's not my employee's fault. It's not my manager's fault. I could have done something to make it different or better, and I didn't do it. So instead of me blaming, instead fix it, fix the problem. And if that means it's you, well, then pick up your, get your tears away and get your big boy pants on and be able to say, you made a mistake today, Henry. You cost yourself money. You cost yourself time. Let's make a difference and make it next time that opportunity comes, you don't mess it up. And I, I think that's important for people to just understand it's not okay to be okay. That's cool, but you could have done better, bro. If you're okay, you could have did better.
Henry Meyer he's amazing. He's a great guy, the resilient entrepreneur. If you didn't pick up all of the little things that he's doing for our community, go back and listen to it again because Henry Meyer he cares about his community. He's an Eastern high school guy, he's a Lansing guy, and he's all over the place. And whatever he needs to do, he's getting it done. He's a guy who gets stuff done. Yeah, we can use the SHIT word there, but he gets stuff done. Until next time, everybody, I'm Papa Tom. You've been listening, watching, doing the whole thing with the Tom Mann Show. Thank you so much for subscribing, doing whatever. And thank you again to Henry Meyer for what he does, not only for the interview, but for what he does for our community. Because without community leaders like a Henry Meyer, we're in trouble. So until next time, everybody, peace out. Love y'all. I'm out.